Let's talk about converting data from one type to another. In JavaScript, we don't have to declare a specific data type when we create a variable. This makes it possible for us to switch sometimes from one data type to another, and that can actually be convenient, as you're going to find out in the future. The very first one I want to talk about is strings. How do you convert from a number or a boolean or anything else to a string? There are a couple different ways you can do it. There's the string function, and there's also a method called toString. I'm going to talk about why you would choose to use one or the other. Let's start with a simple one. Let's say we have a boolean, is system ready, and we wanted to convert it. That value is definitely always going to be either true or false. So in that case, we could choose to use either one of those, but let's use this as an opportunity to show you how the toString method works. I'm going to create a new variable called isSystemReady as text. And I'm going to start with isSystemReady and then append toString, just like this. I don't need to pass anything in between the parentheses because we're actually attaching this method to isSystemReady to begin with. And because we know this is true or false, this can run safely. It will not crash the program. And then we can prove it by logging the new value and also logging its type. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. Node stringdemo.js. We see true and string, and you can definitely see here that true is not in a different color. It looks like a string, right? And we verified that it is in fact a string. It's no longer a Boolean. Okay, so that's the way toString works. You just attach it to the thing that you're trying to convert. We also have a number here, countdown. We could use either one for a number as long as we're sure that that variable will always definitely hold a number. If we're not sure, then we definitely want to use the string function. Let's see how that works. I'm going to create something called countdown as text and open up the string function and pass in countdown. Let's go ahead and log this and also log its type. And we get 10 in string. Okay, so you can see that both toString and string have produced the same result. So let's look at another situation where it starts to get a little trickier. Let's say you think, okay, I'll use toString and we're going to use it on sensor data, which currently holds the value of null. I'm going to create sensor data as text and try calling sensor data.toString. And we will go ahead and log it and its type. But we're not going to get that far. We're going to have a problem right here at line 20. Let's run it and see what happens. Yeah, so we see here it says that at line 20, it cannot read properties of null. It's trying to call this method toString, but it can't call a method of something that doesn't really truly exist. And so null is a situation where you definitely need to use the string function rather than the toString method. So let's switch this around now and take off the toString, because we don't want our program to crash. We want it to be safe. And then we'll convert it and run it again. And now it works. So we see that it has converted it to null as a string, and we're good. So what happens if you're not sure whether something could be undefined or null, even if typically it holds a value? This is a case where you definitely still need to use the string function. So let's work on this last one. Let rocket fuel temp Celsius as text, and I'll use string and convert rocket fuel temp Celsius. And then we will log it and log its type. And there we have it. So when you are planning your code and you're thinking about how it's going to work, and especially when you get to the point later where you're working with things like data that comes from other sources that you don't have control of how that data was formed, anytime you think that there's a possibility that could be null or undefined, definitely use the string function so that your code doesn't break. If you're confident that there's a situation where it'll always exist, or you're planning to check for that first, then you can use the toString method and you'll still be safe. All right, last thing I'm going to do here is make a commit. So always check the status to make sure that I have staged what I think I've staged. And then I'm going to commit it with a message. And there we go. Okay. I have a number of exercises in this practice file here that are going to involve strings, and then of course also numbers and Booleans and implicit conversion, and I'm going to cover those in separate demos. But I recommend you come in here and get a little bit of practice with each one of these when you're ready. That's it. I'll see you in the next one.